The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East, Volume 1 by Baird Spalding. He said the bird has a message from his brother in the north. This proved to be a fellow worker who had not reached the attainment whereby he could communicate directly, so he took this means. We later found that the masters are able to communicate with each other instantly by thought transference, or as they call it, a force much more suitable than either electricity or wireless. I then began to ask questions, and Emil showed me that he was able to call the birds to him and direct their flight while they were in the air, that the flowers and trees would nod to him, that the wild animals would come to him fearlessly. He parted two jackals that were fighting over the body of a small animal that they had killed and were feeding upon. When he approached them, they stopped fighting and put their heads in his outstretched hands in perfect trust, then resumed their meal in quiet. He then said to me, "This is not the mortal self, this is the self you see that is able to do these things. It is a truer, deeper self. It is what you know as God, God within me, God the impotent one, omnipotent one, working through me, that does these things. Of myself, the mortal self, I can do nothing. It is only when I get rid of the outer entirely and let the I am speak and work and let the great love of God come forth that I can do these things that you have seen." It required years of meditation to bring me the realization of the deep spiritual meaning in these people's lives. When occasion requires them walk on water, go through fire, travel in the invisible, and do many other things that we have been accustomed to look upon as miracles performed only by one supposed to have some way to possess supernatural powers. They have so far overcome death that many of them now living are over 500 years of age, as was conclusively proved by their records. To us, this great soul came on earth to show more fully the way to the real God, the great omnipotent and omnipresent, omniscient one, to show that God is all goodness, all wisdom, all truth, all in all. This great master who came to this world this day was sent to show more fully that God not only dwells within us, but within us, that he never is nor can be separated from us or any of his creations. We are fully convinced, and we hope you also will see, that this great master and teaching came to us that we might have a fuller understanding of life here on earth, that all mortal limitations are but man-made, and in no other way shall they be interpreted. We know that this greatest of all teachers came to show more fully that the Christ in him and through him he did his mighty works is the same Christ that lives in you, in me, and in all mankind, that we can, by applying his teachings, do all the works that he did and greater works. To receive more, we must give out what we have received. If we withhold what we receive, stagnation will flow, and we will be like the wheel that generates power from the water and suddenly of its own volition begins to withhold the water which it is using. Are not all things of God, and whatever one human being can do, cannot all do? Man in his right domain is limitless, knows no limit of time or space. Man, when he knows himself, is not obliged to toil wearily along for 5 days to accomplish 90 miles. Man in his right estate can accomplish any distance. It matters not the magnitude instantly. A moment ago, I was in the village from which you departed 5 days ago. That there is no mystery, but that we have developed the powers given all by the Father, the great omnipotent one, more fully than you have. My appearance in this room tonight may be explained in this way. In the little room where you left me, I held my body in the universal by raising its vibration and a return to the universal, or as we say, returning it to the universal where all substance exists. Then through my I am, my Christ consciousness, I held my body in my mind until its vibrations were lowered and it took form right here in this room and you could see it. Wherein is there any mystery? Am I not using the power or the law given to me by the Father through the beloved Son? Is not this Son you and I and all mankind? Wherein lies the mystery? There is none. Let me say that I have done nothing but what each one of you can do. I see the whole world overcoming death. How vividly the words come back. The last enemy, death, shall be overcome. It is not this fulfillment of these words? The individual cell is a minute microscopic unit of the body. By a process of growth and division repeated many times, this minute nucleus of a cell unit results at last in a complete human being built upon built up of almost countless millions of cells. No inevitable old age process exists within his body or group of cells. Nothing that can gradually paralyze the individual. Death is then an avoidable accident. Disease is above all dis-ease, absence of ease, ausente, sweet, joyous peace of the spirit reflected throughout the mind in the body. Joyous thoughts, love thoughts, and ideal thoughts create the beauty called youth. Age is but a shell within which the gem of reality, the jewel of youth. I now realize that there is within me a spiritual joy body, ever young, ever beautiful. I have beautiful spiritual mind, eyes, nose, mouth, skin, the body of the divine infant, which now tonight is perfect. By the spiritual power of these affirmations during the night, a transmutation takes place, and the unfolding from within the spirit has saturated the spiritual body and spiritual temple. The inner alchemist has caused death and worn out cells to fall, and the gold of new skin to appear with perpetual health and loveliness. Truly divine love in demonstration is eternal youth. Learn to smile in the sweet way of a child. Smile from the soul is spiritual relaxation. A real smile is a thing of true beauty, the artistic work of the inner ruler, immortal. It is well to affirm, I think, a kind thought for all the world. May all the world be happy and blessed. Affirm before taking up the work for the day. Within me there is a perfect form, the form divine. I am now all that I desire to be. Learn to thrill yourself. Affirm, infinite love fills my mind and thrills my body with its perfect life. But these rulers soon wandered away from the realization that it was God expressing through them. Concentrated power is silence. There is but one way to be one with the power of God, and that is consciously to contact God. This cannot be done in the without, for God manifests from within. Only as we turn from the without to the silence of the within can we hope to make conscious union with God. We will realize that his power is for us to use, and we will use it at all times. Only the humble can perceive the truth. When man does realize the true nature of God and brings him forth into active expression, he will use his power at all times. Man has not known that God's power is for man's use. If man would come to know the greatest stranger himself, let him enter his own closet and shut the door. There he will find his most dangerous enemy, and there will he learn to master him. He will find his true self. There will he find his truest friend, his wisest teacher, safe as his advisor himself. Man will realize, as Jacob did, that the real gate to heaven is through his own consciousness. With the revelation of this law of expression came the true understanding that stones, as well as all other visible forms, have come forth from the universal mind substance, God, and are in themselves true expressions of divine mind. And all things desired, not formed, are still in this universal mind substance, ready to be created or brought forth to fill every desire. The I am in each soul is the door through which the life, power, and substance of the great I am, which is God, comes forth into expression through the individual. All things are possible to them that believe. It is the belief in separation from spirit that has caused our forms to age and die. Not one of us has to conceive himself. We have been perfectly conceived and are always held in the perfect mind of God as perfect beings. By having this realization brought to our consciousness, we can contact the divine mind and so conceive what God has already conceived for us. It is not the being of the form that we wish to change, but the form that being has assumed. How equally important is the silence or the stilling of the personal mind that the God mind in all its splendor may illume the consciousness. It is separation from him that has caused sin, sickness, poverty, and death. It is union with him that has caused one to become a whole being or to become conscious of being whole. The great work for each soul is to lift the personal viewpoint to such heights in consciousness that it becomes one with the whole. All that is required is to become quiet and visualize or idealize corn, and we have corn cured, ready for use. Jesus recognized that the one in Christ consciousness knows no limitation. Lemmy said that the only hypnotism is the self-hypnotism of believing that each and every one cannot do the perfect works of God and create the desired condition or thing. For is not the need itself the desire to create? You do not let God express perfectly through you as it is his desire to do. God visualized a mental pattern or mold into which could flow the substance needed to make the world, and it came forth a perfect form, built upon the pattern which was held in consciousness. Realize that there is nothing material in heaven. All is spiritual. We must sufficiently realize that there is nothing material, that all is spiritual. Someday we are to realize that we are truly sons of God, not servants, that as sons we can and do have all that the Father has, and that we can use it just as freely as our Father did. I admit this takes a mighty faith at first, one that usually must be taken step by step and must be practiced faithfully like music or mathematics until we come to the place of knowing. That we must ascend to the heights, the very highest in consciousness, to receive our illumination. We must develop it by spiritual thoughts. Then realize that each person is an expression or pressing out from the unseen, the spirit, into visible form, a form through which God loves to express. If man was given dominion over all things, he was certainly given power to fly above the birds. The thought must certainly be in man's own mind. He has only been able in his own mind to see himself crawling, thus has only been able to crawl. You are perfectly right. It is all in man's consciousness. He is limited or unlimited, bound or free, just as he thinks. They have, by the right use of their thought forces, developed their God-given power. Other may teach or tell you, but you of yourselves must do the work. For if you look to another, you build the idol instead of bringing forth the ideal. It is through the power of our own mind or thought action that we are able to bring forth or realize the Christ consciousness. We feel that the time has come for your nation, the United States, to awaken to its true spiritual import, and we wish to do all we can to help you to this realization. Think of this made possible by this little seed of faith planted in the consciousness of one man they allowed to develop. What has happened? Can you realize it? Columbus in his day was thought to be an impractical dreamer. And know that the dreams of yesterday are but the realities of today. For who has accomplished anything who is not a so-called dreamer? Whether you realize it or not, the struggles of that little body of men in those memorable days in the act of affixing their names to that document is one of the greatest epics since that of the advent of Jesus into the world, talking about the Declaration of Independence. Calling to mind the words of that declaration, can you doubt that every word was God inspired? Is there any question that the watchword e pluribus unum, one out of many, or unity out of diversity or multiplicity, was adopted during the successful stages of evolution of the spirit of truth? Then the emblematic phrase, "In God we trust," does not that show the most sanguine faith or trust in God, the creator of all? Then the choice of the eagle, the bird which represents the highest aspiration as the emblem. It shows that these men were deeply spiritual, or they builded better than they knew. Great mistakes have been made by your nation in the ongoing because you have not realized your spiritual import, and the vast majority is still deep in the material. I behold the same glory yet to be as soon as the spiritual meaning of e pluribus unum is understood. Do you not realize that it is one of the great laws of God, the one expressing through the many, one of all and for all? Consider every nation that has been founded. Those founded on true spiritual perception have endured the longest and would have endured forever had not materialism been allowed to creep in and gradually undermine the whole structure until they fell by their own abnormal weight or were consumed by the misuse of the law that gave them birth. In God we trust, and e pluribus unum, one composed of many, the very slogan of spirit when the dove replaces the eagle on the life medium of such a nation. After the meal was finished and we were sitting around the table, one of our party asked how the room was warmed. Emil said, "The warmth that you feel in this room comes from a force that we are all able to contact and use. This force or power is higher than any of your mechanical force or power, but can be contacted by man, is used as light, heat, and power, even to the driving of all mechanical appliances. It is what we call universal force. We call it universal power, God power, supplied by the Father to work for all his children. It will turn and move every mechanical device, furnish transportation without the consumption of fuel in any way, and will also furnish light and heat. It is everywhere present without money or price and can be contacted and used by all. Therefore, she is living in the invisible at all times. It is a place in consciousness, the seventh heaven, where every mystery is revealed. Those who have reached that state of consciousness are outside the mortal vision, but they can return and converse and teach those who are receptive. Temple is located on a high mountain peak, is built of rough stone, and is said to be over 12,000 years old. It is in a perfect state of preservation and repair. It is one of the first temples erected by the Siddha teachers and was erected by them as a place where they could go and have perfect silence. We have now raised the vibration of our bodies to a higher vibration than that of the fire, and the fire does not harm us. All can do the same as we are doing. We are using a law given us by the Father to use. We were able to use this law to convey our bodies through any space. This is the law we are using when you see us appear and disappear, or as you call it, annihilate space. We simply overcome difficulties by raising our consciousness above them, and in this way we are able to overcome or to come up over all limitations that man in mortal consciousness has placed upon himself. One young woman about 20 years of age who had her feet frozen the previous winter had them restored. The masters say that they can assist everyone that really desires help, but they cannot actually do the work for anyone. They can tell others of the abundance in store for them, but to be actually one with and of the abundance, each individual must accept and prove it for himself, but actually knowing and doing the works. Another cannot do the work for you, nor can another carry you along indefinitely. You must decide to do the work for yourself, then do it. If you would only look for the God quality and not make any comparison, you would see every human being as you see me. We see only the Christ or God quality in all at all times, and in that way we are out of your vision. We see perfection or have perfect vision, while you see imperfection or have imperfect vision. If he should but realize that every idea is a direct, perfect expression from God, and as soon as this idea comes to him, he would immediately make it his ideal to be expressed from God, then take his mortal hands off and let God's express through him the perfect way, this ideal would come forth perfect. There were four men sitting opposite us at table. There was one that had lived upon this earth about 1,000 years. He had so perfected his body that he was able to take it with him wherever he desired. His body still retained the buoyancy and youth of a man of 35 years old, and this perfection had been completed about 2,000 years ago. The second had lived upon this earth for more than 700 years, and his body did not appear to be a day over 40. There was Amel, who had lived for over 500 years and appeared to be about 40, and Jast, who was about 40 and appeared to be about that age. We found that our friends did not carry money with them, neither did they depend on others for their supply. When money was needed, it was right at hand, created from the universal. You are free to fly as we. You only need to know that you have the power within to do so, and then use the power. These records prove that this country was inhabited thousands of years before our history began. Every child born is good and perfect. There are no bad children. It does not matter whether they are conceived in the perfect or immaculate or through the sense or material way. The one conceived in the perfect way will soon recognize his sonship with the Father, that he is the Christ or Son of God. Then he will develop and unfold quickly, and he will see only perfection. Know ye not that your body is pure, perfect, young, ever beautiful, divine? Know ye not that God created you in exact image and likeness of himself and gave you dominion over all things? You of yourself are always Christ, the perfect Son of God, the only begotten Son of God, in whom the Father, Mother is well pleased. You are pure, perfect, holy, divine, one with God, all good, and each and every child has the right to claim this sonship, this divinity. The meal had not progressed far when our chief asked the lady what she considered the greatest attribute of God. Without a moment's hesitation, she answered, love. Then she went on to say, the tree of life is located in the midst of the paradise of God, the very depth of our own soul, and the rich, abundant fruit that grows and ripens to the fullest perfection, the most perfect and life-giving is love. The divine principle of love may be used to eliminate every sorrow, every infirmity, every harsh condition, and every lack that harasses humanity. Love is ever seeking an inlet whereby it may flow forth into the soul of man and pour itself out as all good to him. Love is the perfect fruit of the spirit. It goes forth, binding up the wounds of humanity, drawing nations into closer harmony and bringing peace and prosperity to the world. It is the very pulse of the world, the heartbeat of the universe. You need not fear. With the prayer of understanding faith, knowing that the help you stand in need of is already yours. Never doubt, do more, ask. Know that in the invisible universal substance in which we all live and move and have our being is every good and perfect thing that man can desire, waiting to be drawn forth by faith into visible form or manifestation. Consider Solomon. When in the night of his experience, he allowed his radiant love nature to expand to that universal plane of consciousness where he was asked to be of service and not for self. This brought to him wealth untold, and added to this was life and honor beyond his power to ask. He recognized the wisdom of love, and love released its boundless wealth upon him. To love is to release God's unlimited storehouse of golden treasure. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men give unto you bosom. If we work in the spirit of love, we must have God present in consciousness. To conceive abundance, one must relinquish all thoughts of things. In particular, this concept is so large that it will not permit the thought of detail. To hold it in mind, consciousness must swing far out into the universe and revel in the joyousness of perfect freedom. This freedom must, however, not be taken for license, for we are held responsible for every thought, every action. We do not need to be healed. We are every whit whole. There is nothing the human soul so longs for as to know God. We see people ever shifting from one thing to another, hoping they will find satisfaction or rest in some accomplishment or in the possession of some limited moral desire. We see them pursuing and gaining these things only to find themselves still unsatisfied. Some fancy they want houses and land, some great wealth and some great learning. We are privileged to know that man has all these things within himself. We know that every man must overcome the mortal, the fleshy desires, the doubts and fears until he comes to the perfect consciousness or recognition of the indwelling presence, this Father in me, to whom Jesus ascribed the credit of all his mighty works. He was obliged to hold fast as you are obliged to hold fast today, even with clenched fist and set teeth and saying, I will succeed. I do know the Christ lives within me. What you must do is to raise your consciousness so that you can see and know that you walk beside them, that you will not falter. They are holding out their hands and saying, come into me, I will give you rest. This does not mean come after death. This means comes now, just as you are. Raise your consciousness to our consciousness, and behold, you stand where we are tonight. Above all mortal limitations, abundantly free. Peace, health, love, joy, and prosperity are here. The same power is in you that is in Jesus. This is called the mantle of the Spirit. With the right concept of this, it is found that there is no decay, no disease, no accident, no death, nothing that can take your life in any way. This is an armor better than any armor plate ever devised by man, and you can use it at all times without money and without price. That which is gazed upon is brought forth, and his realization of this released him from his material bondage. We have all lived in the visible mortal plane on this earth. In fact, we have never left the earth. We are now visible only to those that are in mortal consciousness. To those that are on a higher plane of consciousness, we are always visible. Every seed idea placed in the soul becomes the conception and is given thought form in mind. Later to be experienced in physical form, ideas of perfection produce perfection. None can rise above mortal thoughts without doing the will of God, whether he does it consciously or unconsciously. The real world is substance, the relativity of substance. Let us consider for a moment the five kingdoms, the mineral, the vegetable, the animal, the man, and the God kingdoms. We were told that if we would become quiet, we could hear the music at all times, but it is only on an occasion like this that the chorus accompanies the music. We tried this a number of times afterward and found that we could hear the music. The angel choir. They called it the Symphony of Souls in Accord. We're shown just what we are shown, that man comes forth in unity just as long as he has consciously realized this and used the power and dominion rightly. But the moment he in his mortal self conceived dual powers, he began to see dual. He misused his power and brought forth duality. For man is a free will agent and brings forth that which he gazes upon. Recognizing this, men are now coming closer and closer. Man is beginning to realize that every other man is his brother instead of his enemy. When man does fully realize this, he will see that just as all came from the one source, all must return to that source or become his brothers in reality. Then he will be in heaven and will recognize that heaven means the inner peace and harmony created by man right here on earth. He will then see that he makes his heaven or hell just as he chooses. The diversity thought to exist today must be wholly in man's mortal mind. See what this diversity has led to: the great wars, the intense hate engendered between nations and families and even individuals, and all because one church organization or another has thought that its created doctrine was better than that of another. Each must learn to lay hold of life and begin to express from his own life center with purposeful, definite action the gifts that God has given him. Each must unfold his own life. It is not possible for one to live for another. The whole purpose of life reveals itself in the privilege and opportunity of expressing the God self within. The God power within can bring forth a true desire only when it is firmly fixed in the soul of man. We must all know, as Jesus did, that the first spiritual impulse toward expression is the definite desire to express. If the seed were planted, then allowed to grow and come forth, it would fill the need. Need or desire in the unfoldment of life is misunderstood. If you are satisfied, you are at a standstill. God proposes and man disposes. If man is so disposed, he can do all that God does. The individual may discover that I am. He may know that within him lies all power to satisfy the soul to fulfill its every need and desire. When he knows I am is the fulfillment of his desire is filled. To look outside the God self for the fulfillment of his desire is folly. To unfold the self must do the unfolding. Then what a realization, what an awakening to know the I am, to know that within is the power, substance, and intelligence from which all forms take form. And to know that the moment a definite and true idea of desire can be intelligently formed, the power, intelligence, and substance of spirit must flow to it and bring it forth. All great souls are true to their vision. Everything brought forth was first a vision, a seed idea planted in the soul, then allowed to expand and come forth. These souls never allow the unbelief of others to influence them. It is impossible to go and stay at the same time. The old must be forsaken, the new adhered to. The vision only must be remembered if he wishes it fulfilled. Every idea, thought, word, or act must be true to the vision in order to bring it forth. The will to serve keeps the life current, flowing through self, and keeps the self in radiation. To serve gives purpose to vision. It realizes love in life. How can love be expressed unless it flows through the one expressing life? The conscious mind must seek and want the spirit in order to learn the power of the spirit. In this way, the individual learns to know that spirit is the fulfillment of the need. In no way can it be given higher expression than when it is allowed to fill the need of others. We will find every desire of the heart fulfilled by the Father as soon as we act, the part of the Son in thought, word, and deed. We will find that the sons of God are free. You will note that all our comforts in this room and those you are occupying, such as light and heat, and even the things you have eaten, are prepared by one of these forces. You may call it light rays or what you will. We see it as a great universal power or force, which, when contacted by man, will work for him far more efficiently than steam, electricity, gasoline, or coal. Yet we call it one of the least of the forces of powers. The force will not only furnish all the power needed by man, but it will also furnish heat for all his needs at all times and in all places. This exactly represents every thought or word we think or speak. The thought or word sets in motion certain vibrations that go out and on in every widening circles until they compass the universe. They can return as they went forward to the one that sent them out. Every thought or word we think or speak, be it good or bad, returns to us as certainly as we send it forth. Every idea, thought, or word becomes a seed. This seed idea is sent out, planted in the soul, comes a conception later to be brought forth or expressed in physical form. Thoughts or ideas of perfection bring forth perfection. Thoughts or ideas of imperfection bring forth imperfection. The only thing that has separated man from heaven is a mist of material thought that man has created around heaven. We who have so perfected our bodies that we are able to take them where we will are privileged to see and be in what is called the celestial realm. This realm is known to a great many as the seventh heaven. There is no mystery. We've only reached a place in consciousness where we are able to receive the highest teachings.